Hey everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex, and this is Big Baby Reviews. Check out my comics, Big Baby and Starcrasher at KingComics.CA. Check out my YouTube channel, my videos, King Comics 2021. Check out my Instagram, Maximus Rex 13, or Facebook, Max Rex and or Big Baby. Today is Saturday, guys. It is Erik Larsen Day. Hope you're having a great weekend. We are looking at the next issue of his run from the early 90s, The Savage Dragon, issue number 21, August 1995. This is kind of the big finale with the Overlord kind of saga. So we finally get the big showdown with Overlord. The cover kind of, definitely throws that out there and declares it quite loudly. So I guess you can pretty much assume the dragon's going to come out of this one victorious, kind of beaten and bloodied as well. But we'll look at more of that within the comics. So just kind of a simple, straightforward cover. Lots of nice dark shadows here, which I think are cool. Help to silhouette the figure. Some emphasis lines is what I think I'm going to start calling them that. I like this term, emphasis lines. Not sure about kind of the coloring of those lines. Kind of annoys me a little bit here, but it's early 90s coloring and they're trying stuff. The coloring on the figure totally works for me though. But yeah, simple, effective cover, no backgrounds. Helps with deadlines. Let's move on. He stopped kind of printing here, even though the title, Savage Dragon, even though he's overlapping the title with the hand here, does obscure a little bit. But I think by now, yeah, you pretty much know what this is, right? Let's have a look inside. This is not fully an all splash page issue, but pretty close. So it starts off that way, and there's double page splashes, or at least one. So we'll talk about that as we go through. The art is amazing. Again, the storyline's pretty simple. Dragon has, confronted Overlord in his penthouse. So that was last issue, and now boom, he and the other cops are kind of blown out of the apartment is what's going to happen, right? Overlord just set off some sort of huge detonation here. Interesting helicopter design. Kind of cool because it makes it easy to draw. Kind of looks like those fake concrete things they kind of build to build reefs near water and stuff. It's an interesting design, easy to draw, and kind of fun too. So it's like a sci-fi futuristic helicopter. I mean, how long did it take to draw it here? And it's very effective. All of this too. Always want to commend Erik Larsen for his textures. And something like this, like I love that he's got like rough kind of almost Klaus Janson-y textures in the building here, and then he came back and added some white on top. I feel like I don't think the colorist did that for the light and stuff, and I think it totally works. Also, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if he had done it by this point early on, but his star backgrounds I've heard is he's just kind of done a double page spread or something of it, and he just recycles it and reuses it for backgrounds over and over, which is totally smart. So like. Kudos to him for figuring that out. Guess you're good. You're going to be doing a lot of starry, star-skied backgrounds. You're going to do that. Something really cool here. Kind of reminds me somehow of Ronin. I don't know if there's some Frank Miller influence here. It's very dirty, very Bill Sienkiewicz, excuse me. Just very rough, but appropriate for what's happening, right? So. Yeah, like I said, Overlord's kind of detonated. Dragon's being pushed and burnt back, right? Seems like he's losing a bit of himself here. And everyone else, because they are not the Savage Dragon, are just being obliterated. And the fact, again, that the page is in black and white just creates kind of ultimate light from an explosion here. Very, very nice. Like even the hand, how quick and mangled. Like this was done quickly, and that's what you want to give that effect, right? Although I got to say the lines here, I feel are they digital? Yeah, it's kind of off-putting. I feel like they're digital and thrown in after. And they just don't seem to fit as naturally in with that. It's a small detail you probably don't notice when you glance through quickly, but these look digital to me. Wouldn't be surprised. But hey, again, you're not going to worry too much about that. So there's that starry background again. That's probably recycling. I keep recognizing this one particular star. Kind of draws a circle and a cross inside. He does it here and there. So this is a cool shot because Dragon, who's been, blown out, just catches the side of the helicopter here. You can see all the smoke and rubble kind of coming off of him there. Really helps with the movement in the whole scene. Looks great. Just a little bit of smoke down here. And then you get to see kind of the results here where Dragon's been kind of burnt to a crisp. So that first layer of skin's gone. He's naked. That's a nice detail. Not for the actual fact that he's naked, but the fact that, yeah, that's probably what would happen, right? So he says they're all dead, right? Overlord killed them. I've had enough. Give me whatever you got. I'm going to take down that son of a bitch once and for all or die trying. So I guess Dragon's pretty resolute there. So yeah, once again, this star background blown up, sized down a bit. changes from page to page, but yeah, I'm pretty sure he's at the point where he's recycling that. Maybe it's during this issue that he created this, just because he had a lot of starry backgrounds. He figured it'd be go a lot faster doing it that way, which it probably does. Work smarter, not harder. Great shot here of Dr. Doom, Overlord, right? Pretty much same guy, at least visually. Another great shot of the dragon here. Like I said, some of his skin burnt off. I like the textures again, the gritty kind of look to Larson's textures. Not afraid to go dirty, and here he's using white, you know, for where the gun's shooting away. Very cool. Again, those buildings, so rough, but I mean, it totally works. Almost abstract. It's that Kirby kind of influence, I feel. Still make it work. So Dragon's shooting at Overlord, but he's got the big armor that protects him, right? So the solution that Dragon's going to find is pretty interesting. You're going to like it. I like this shot where they kind of just, you know, Dragon lands on the corner of the building. The extreme perspective here down onto the street. Looks great. A few simple lines to imply the movement. Didn't have to do them all in here. Did it for him a little bit, and that just totally works. Kind of a manga feel to some of the action here. The actual landing, too, has some effect. Larson's just great at this like extreme bombastic action. So again, not a full splash page issue, so we got kind of a double page here, and just that insert panel, the fact that it kind of, you know, takes away from this page and this page a little bit space-wise makes it, this is not a full splash, this is not a full splash, but pretty much, right? So he jumps, a dragon, I'll see you in hell. They have the whole tough guy situation, you know, conversation. And so, yeah, pretty interesting. Dragon solutions to shoot him in the mouth, right? In the mouth. It's the one part of his whole costume that he's not, you know, covered up. And I guess that's the failsafe that he mentioned at some point. He doesn't say what the failsafe is, but, you know, I guess Cyberface told him, you know, the one thing no one's really thought about is the fact that his mouth is exposed. And you could probably just, you know, maybe throw a poison pill in there, or like Dragon does, just shoot him. So yeah, just there's some like 90s, you know, 80s, 90s movie type catchphrases, right? So insolent whelp, I'll see you in hell. And Dragon says, no, you won't. I'm not going. Like, it's so cheesy. But fun. Definitely fun. And then while he's falling, we get kind of his origin story, right? Whereas a young boy, his name's Antonio Saghetti. Saghetti. Is that like a child saying spaghetti? Kind of feels like that. And caught his sister being raped by some big guy and killed him. And that's kind of what got him started. Interlude, pin up by Mark Pacella and Dan Panosian. Actually kind of fun. I feel like both guys are kind of pulling away at this point. This is later on. It's 95. It's not 91 or 92 anymore. A few years have gone by, and I feel like both guys are pulling away. Still a very image style of art, but they're pulling away specifically from the extreme look and trying some different stuff. I don't know where Mark Pacella... Excuse me. I should frame that better. I don't know where Mark Pacella is today, but I do know Dan Panosian. I see his stuff on Facebook, and he's really evolved into an amazing artist. Very awesome. And when I see his modern work, I still see, you know, back in the day, some of those early lines that would become the lines he's using today. You know, he's doing more of the, like I said, the 90s hatching here, but I feel like I recognize his lines. So as he's fallen here, we get more backstory. Like I said, killed the guy and then became kind of a young thug. Joined a gang. He was a mafia guy. Killed some people. Eventually, he raped some guy's sister. It's kind of pointed out here. Kind of rough. Oh, am I not supposed to say that word? Oh, S.A. Sorry. Apparently people get their videos taken down if people hear the R word. Oh, dear Lord, you got to think of all this stuff. Anyways, you know, not implying in any way that that's a good thing. Just putting that out there so the algorithm doesn't get angry. One thing I noticed here, this last panel is a stat of kind of a bigger shot from last issue when they confront Overlord. I mean, I kind of understand doing it, not having to redraw it and stuff and just getting through one more page. The only problem with that is because this was drawn bigger originally, there's a lot of detail. When you shrink it down, what ends up happening is like next to the drawings, right? These drawings all have like the same consistency and thickness of line. And then we get to this one and it's much more detailed, kind of stuck together and compressed and a very fine line. So it kind of just stands out, looks a little weird. For, you know, like I said, deadline's sake, I get it. But, you know, sometimes when you take a big drawing and shrink it too much, it just doesn't feels out of place with the other ones around it, right? Like Overlord over here, right? Pretty much the same size as he is here, but you can tell the line is different, and it was drawn differently for sure, because this one has less detail overall because it was drawn at actual small size, where this one was drawn bigger and shrunk down. And so when he actually smacks into the same spike that impaled the Savage Dragon way back in issue 7 or 8, somewhere around there. But, not going to have that happen again, so he just kind of smashes into it and breaks it. Get a nice kind of big shot of Savage Dragon standing at the top there naked, but with his charred flesh. And Sageti is dead. Similar to that shot of the dragon we often see top down in a field, fire, after he's been stabbed by a giant spike. Another page where I want to point out just the various use of textures and gritty textures and how great and interesting this page looks because of it. The coloring is pretty fun too. I gotta say, overall, the coloring in the comic is becoming pretty darn good. We're moving away from those dark covers. I think I mentioned that earlier, where at some point, the colors tend to be a little bit brighter and not so murky and 90s-ish, if I can put it that way. And this is the phase here. I like, some of the lighting effects down here and the change of color, the purples and the reds and the oranges, very kind of psychedelic. There's just something, I'll point it out right now that I really, maybe it starts in this issue or a few issues earlier, but I really noticed it this issue. I really, really like the colors. Has the colors changed? I haven't gone through the credits, eh? Ruben Rude? No, I think that's been him for a while. Anyways, so textures, this simple kind of squiggly line he does for the helicopters, that's amazing, and it's super effective. I had to draw a helicopter a few years ago in an illustration. Man, did I suffer through having to do the squiggly line, but making it work. Like, it looks easy, right? It's not. You can do it so wrong where it doesn't work at all. A lot of white medium thrown in here, just very dirtily, right, of kind of add to the lighting effect of the helicopter, which I think is cool. More cool textures. This whole building, the cracked windows look great. Again, the roughness of the darks and the dark spaces he throws on these buildings, and then I pretty much feel like a lot of these is white medium when he comes back to add those light highlights. And what he's done for the broken window texture looks great. And then throwing a screen tone on that and on back of the dragon there just kind of gives it a more slightly more kind of vintagey feel, which I think is cool. So I really like this page here, just to show you that, like, the focus obviously is still kind of the dragon, but the focus is so small, right? It's probably the helicopter is what you look at first. Again, there's that simple design and silhouette. Like, instead of having to draw a complicated helicopter, you do something like this. It's very cool and sci-fi, and it just saves you lots of time. That's genius to me as an artist. This guy's still complaining about the Savage Dragon, because now he went up there with his friends, and all his friends are dead. But he said, you insisted, Frank tells him, you insisted that your friends go with him, so it's just as much your fault or more so than it is Dragon's. And then we get kind of a funny sequence of Dragon coming out of the hospital with some bandages from the burns, right? Kind of like inspired by the Mummy, or that character from that DC comic that he actually worked on. Is it Metal? I don't know for sure. Doom Patrol. There's a character in there that's kind of, so I feel like there's a bit of a nod to that there possibly. And this is the most kind of late 80s, early 90s thing ever. There's the catchphrase earlier when he shot Overlord, thinking about going to hell, and now there's this pun at the end. Right, so Officer Dragon, this whole setup is typical. I'll explain after. Officer Dragon, you just single-handedly defeated the most notorious villain the city of Chicago has ever seen. What are you going to do now? I'm going to Disneyland. So anyone who was alive back then knows that this is a reference to, don't even know the player's name. I think it was after a baseball game or a football game or something, some huge, probably after the Super Bowl or something similar, right? I don't know which sporting event, but, someone said, call him Joe. Joe, you've just won the Super Bowl and this and that. What are you going to do next? And he'd said, I'm going to Disneyland or Disney World, possibly, in the original. But I know that Eric Larson lives on the West Coast, so he probably threw that in there kind of an extra jab at Disney World and not Disneyland, unless I'm getting that wrong somehow. But the basic reference is a key moment in kind of sports history from the early 90s. A lot of people reference that. There's tons of parody references of this in all sorts of media, TV, movies, I'm sure. And I guess that's it for this issue. Remember back then, the Savage Dragon's letter page is notorious for being huge and there not being very many ads at the end of the comic. One ad for Dart, Dangerous Curves Ahead. Not sure who drew this. Is Joseph something? Not a bad job, actually. I think this looks pretty cool. Some interesting kind of rendering tools and anatomy, and kind of like it. It's like a cartoonier, maybe more interesting Bart Sears, I would say. Anyways, guys, that is my review of the Savage Dragon, issue 21, August 1995. If you have any answers to my questions or want to add to what's been said during this video, let me know in the comments below. Feel free to ask questions or leave little tidbits of information that I don't know about that I love to find out about. Those of you who are still subscribed, thank you so much for being there and still watching. Those of you who are watching but are not subscribed, please do so below. Takes but a second, really helps the channel out, helps us grow and get us out there to other people who are into comic books just like we are. So everyone out there who's been watching, thank you so much. I appreciate it, and have an awesome day. King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13, 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents Star Crasher one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at KINGCOMICS.CA, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.
Like! Subscribe! Like! Subscribe!